Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News Channel. Hello, Maverick family and new viewers. Wherever you may be, tonight we have a lot to share with you. Stacked program as the chaos continues in Mexico, even as the Mexican government is saying they are entering a period of stabilization after the killings, the chaos, the ignition of this drug cartel war that was sparked by Donald Trump putting pressure on the Mexican government to crack down on drug cartels inside Mexico. What we've been seeing over the past couple of days is the result of all that, the chaos, the violence in the streets, the stranded tourists, thousands of them. Tonight we have the statement from Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister. We have the latest on the ground in Mexico itself, and we're going to rewind to show you why this approach to foreign drug affairs, foreign affairs in general with Donald Trump has really resulted in something that is unprecedented in some ways, and also why. And I'm going to rewind to show you how it's not as simple as it may appear to be on the surface, and we will expose the hypocrisy of the president tonight as we dig into some files from the past and provide updated information to show you how Donald Trump himself is in some ways connected to the tangled web of violence and criminal activity that finds its way all through Mexico, the United States, Canada, and beyond. Plus, we have information on the arrest of Tumbler Ridge shooter Jesse Van Rootselaar's brother. We'll tell you why that has happened. And we will also update you on that story we told you about the other night involving OpenAI and their decision to not report the activity of Jesse Van Rootselaar, the shooter from Tumbler Ridge, to authorities, even though they realized, they knew that that he was not stable, that there were mental health issues there, or that at least he was exhibiting violent tendencies. So we will dig into all that and a whole lot more when we come back on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day.
Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations, proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
Okay, the situation in Mexico, volatile tonight. So we're now, a day after this situation where the Mexican army killed the country's most powerful drug lord. So we have tourist shops reopening in some areas and some workers back on the job there, but still some gunshots being heard on the streets in Mexico, about 20 different areas across the country were terrorized really by drug cartels yesterday and into the night last night. Heavily armed Mexican security forces have been battling with cartel gunmen following the killing that then resulted in this explosion of violence really across the country. Cartel fighters continued to block roads, seizing vehicles, pulling drivers from their cars, beating them in some cases, then setting the vehicles ablaze. And when we were preparing the broadcast for tonight, we put 73 dead as the death toll at that time. I believe we are now up to 78. And the aftermath is devastating. I guess the descriptions we're getting from people on the ground there is that, well, they're describing it very much as a war zone. So this drug lord known as Mencho, notorious leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of the most powerful criminal organizations in Mexico. And these drug cartels are extremely well armed. And this is one of the reasons the operation there, not quite as, not an easy operation. I'll just say it that way. Let me show you, well, there's all kinds of videos circulating online, but governments, as part of their information warfare campaigns, when they get into any kind of a conflict like this, will release propaganda videos, and these drug cartels are doing exactly the same thing. And when you look at the videos they're releasing or allowing to be recorded and then distributed, you'll see that they're extremely well equipped, in some cases better equipped than the government forces that are opposing them and trying to take them out.
Pinche 20, a ver si muy verga te topas con nosotros. Ahí tengo desamarrados los perros, culero. Y así voy a andar patrullando. Con tu puta madre.
Órale, vente, hijo de puta madre. Bríncale a la verga. Bríncale al toro, perro.
Hijo de tu puta madre. Vas a pegar toda la verga, culero.
Gente inocente, sí, eres bien verga.
So I've been doing some research into what kind of weapons they're using, and they're using mostly 50 caliber guns, and most of them, 70 to 80%, are manufactured in the United States. I'm seeing various reports that provide different sort of pathways for smuggling these weapons from the United States or elsewhere into Mexico for these drug cartels. But as you can see, very well armed, well funded, a lot of money there. And as I was saying last night, where are they getting these weapons? Who's manufacturing them? How do they get them? It's an important question. And the answers are, I think, fairly obvious. Some allegations of, well, I shouldn't, I guess, make allegations without absolute proof. That being said, no doubt that these weapons are made in the United States, 78, 80% of them. And they're finding their way into the hands of these drug cartels and their forces. And they are really like an army. And that's just one of the complicating factors. And in Mexico, the Mexican Army and Air Force are both conducting flyovers in some of the areas affected by these propeller-driven aircraft. This is what's being posted online. Here it is. I'm honestly not sure what to make of that. Using propeller-driven aircraft in a jet age, it's hard to know what's real, what isn't real. I can just say that it seems odd to me, but it could just be a cost-effective way to put forward some air power against these drug cartels. This is what tourists have been encountering when walking down the street, with locals telling them to get off the streets because people are being shot and killed.
Did you hear it or see him? Duck into somebody's doorway? Hide behind something?
People, go up to your house.
We are.
It's gonna be very bad.
It's gonna get better.
They're killing people outside.
Okay.
Okay.
Please,
There they
go
go.
home.
Come on, let's go. So they know, right? Ron, can we cut? No, we're gonna go straight down this way because the highway's right there, so we can't go there. That's right. Second wave's coming.
So, still chaos at the airports, as I understand it tonight, and that is the thing. Those airplanes up in the air, I believe those, if I'm not mistaken, those look like P-51 Mustangs. So let me just check. I'm going to see if that's actually true, because I don't want to leave you with a false impression if that's not really the case. Yeah, as I thought, I think they're fabricated and probably being circulated to just poke fun at the Mexican military. And why would that be? Because we are seeing posts online calling for the United States military to intervene. We've seen media reports pushed out to the public saying that President Trump offered to send in the U.S. military, boots on the ground, to take out these drug cartels. And Sheinbaum, president of Mexico, declined. And that has become something of a public relations sticky point between Mexico and Donald Trump. He addressed it on Air Force One. And bring this up.
Isn't that true? So Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartel. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. Absolutely. Because they are horrible people that have been killing people left and right, they've made a fortune on selling drugs and destroying our people. We lost 300,000 people last year to fentanyl and drugs. They're bad news. Yeah, that's true. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in. So Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops.
It's a recurring message, not just there, but here in Canada too. People repeatedly calling for Trump to send in the troops to save the country. Social media posts, I'm seeing them calling for U.S. military intervention in Mexico to take care of Mexico's problems, as we've been seeing for a long time, even up here in Canada, calls for the U.S. to send in troops to save Canada. We need help up here, they say, to deal with this communist dictatorship that we have in Canada repeatedly. And I think of specific campaigns, even with social media influencers. There was the letter writing campaign, the SOS letter writing campaign that was initiated, calling on Canadians to write in a letter to call on the Trump administration to save the country again from communism. Stay with me. I'm going to come right back. I'm going to queue up a couple of things, and then we're going to get into some of this stuff from the past, showing why this whole war on drugs ignited by Donald Trump is not as simple as it appears to be. In fact, it's extremely complicated, and we'll show you how the president himself is part of the tapestry of complications that has resulted in a lot of death in Mexico tonight.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so we're back. This whole situation down there in Mexico, you know, they've been fighting drug cartels. The United States engaged in various incarnations of the war on drugs for longer than I've been alive. Over a century at least. So what's going on down there right now, as I've said, is apparently, it's readily apparent that this is a planned operation, something that's been in the works for a long time. And I've mentioned before that one of the architects of what we're seeing right now appears to be Major General Paul Vallely. And I mentioned yesterday, again, Operation Sinaloa. That's the name of the plan that he helped to concoct. And I just wanted to reinforce and bring the receipts to show you that I'm not making this stuff up. Here he is. This is a newsletter that he sends out. Now he's retired, or sort of retired, but also runs what appears to be, which he talks about. It's essentially a consulting operation where he has a direct link to the President of the United States, and has for a long time. And certainly that communication link was present after even Trump 1.0 and that administration. And in the in-between period, before he took office the second time, he was certainly offering advice and details on plans like Operation Sinaloa. And here's a reference to all of that, dating back to just this past July. U.S. Border Plan 2025, updated Operation Sinaloa 1. And what's this all about? Well, he says, again, I mean, this is creating a pretext, I would say, and manufacturing consent for an invasion of sorts into Mexico. And part of that is part of the equation is to paint the Mexican government as being corrupt with links to drug cartels. And so in this newsletter, making specific references to Operation Sinaloa, the plan, Major Vallely highlights right here saying, new scandal links Mexico's top political elite to drug cartels. And then he issues this call to action saying it's time for America and the Defense Department to act. So he has been a hawk on this file, advocating, pushing, promoting the idea that the U.S. needs to intervene and send in troops. He says, as Mexico attempts to appease the Trump administration and avoid a series of tariffs, this is all part of the plan, over not doing enough, in quotation marks, to eradicate drug cartels. Why does he have to put it in quotation marks if it's because it's part of the plan to create the conditions for this sort of argument? As Mexico attempts to appease the Trump administration and avoid a series of tariffs over not doing enough to eradicate drug cartels, a new scandal surfaced that ties the top political elite in Mexico with one of the country's most violent drug cartels. This is back in July. The cartel was labeled this year by the U.S. government as a foreign terrorist organization The scandal began earlier this month when Interpol issued a red notice for the arrest of Hernan Comandante H. Bermudez Requena, the former public security secretary for the Mexican state of Tabasco. Authorities in Mexico have been forced to identify Bermudez as the alleged leader of La Barradora, or Street Sweeper, an enforcement wing of Cartel Jalisco New Generation. That's the drug cartel that has been mostly targeted in this operation. Operation Sinaloa, as drafted, created in large part by Major Vallely himself. According to Mexican federal authorities, Bermudez is believed to have fled the country in January when he found out authorities were looking at him. It goes on here to paint a picture where they are connecting the Mexican government to the drug cartels. It says right here, they carry heavy 50 caliber sniper rifles, RPG-7, or rocket-propelled grenades, and PKM and Kalashnikov full auto machine guns. See, Vallely, being part of the MAGA operation, is intent on painting the weapons trail back to Russia and Ukraine, when the actual evidence shows that, as I said, 70 to 80% of the guns are manufactured and come from the United States itself. He says you can no longer call these cartels drug organizations. They are well-organized armies that control vast swaths of territory across Mexico and conduct massive cross-border operations into the heart of America and, oh, here we go, Canada. The Mexican government and military are powerless to stop them as the cartels own them. All bought off, he says. I see. And so, of course, he has to implicate Canada in all of this because Major Vallely and the people around him in his immediate circle are involved, as we've shown you in the past, in creating the pretext for the acquisition, the annexation of Canada as the 51st state. We'll have more to show you about that tomorrow. I'm going to bring you some more receipts on that. But what I want to do right now is focus on the complexities of what he just alluded to. These drug cartels are not simply drug operations anymore, and they haven't been for a long time. This is one of the reasons what Trump is doing down there by putting pressure on the Mexican government to take action is it's just not simple, and it is likely, and this is why it's already turned into something far more complex, I think, than Major General Vallely or anyone else who came up with this plan for Operation Sinaloa, anything they were bargaining for, because it has already erupted into wide-scale violence, disruption. It has put the lives of Americans, of Canadians, of tourists in general, thousands and thousands, in jeopardy, at risk. And the reason in the long run this is likely to be ineffective, and I'm editorializing here, is because these drug cartels are not just into drugs. These cartels are criminal organizations. You're dealing essentially with well-armed, well-funded, well-established, organized crime syndicates, international in scope and scale. And it's not just drugs that they are involved in. Their tentacles stretch into all kinds of other industries, real estate, agriculture. They are involved in other kinds of crimes, human trafficking, extortion. They're active in service industries like restaurants, casinos, and these business interests that they have invested in to give their operations at least the veneer of legitimacy are being used to launder money and to mask what they are doing so that they can move through society and make use of the billions of dollars that they generate and conduct their affairs in tandem with legitimate business people. Donald Trump himself, not so very long ago, became embroiled or involved with a business venture that he was accused definitely had ties to organized crime. Let me pull up my notes on this. So this is a prominently cited example of Trump's ties to something that had shadowy ties to the underworld and to business practices that, resulted in extreme scrutiny and questions about money laundering and drug cartels. Now, this takes us out of Mexico specific, but it is relevant to the conversation here tonight because what we're dealing with is a president and an administration that is saying they want to crack down on drug cartels and organized crime, money laundering, and yet the president himself connected to a hotel in Panama that investigations have shown was directly tied to dirty money. We're talking about the Trump Ocean Club in Panama. The Trump family did not own or develop the property, but they did license their brand. They managed the hotel and received a share of condo sales proceeds, management fees, royalties, and financial disclosures do indicate that Trump earned up to $74 million between 2006 and 2010 from the deal, plus an additional $13.9 million in recent years. So there were investigations by various journalists, most prominently dating back to that period. There were reports from Reuters and NBC News that revealed that this tower was riddled with buyers, brokers, investors linked to international organized crime, including drug trafficking. Panama is and has been a well-known money laundering hub, especially back at that time. Things have been cleaned up a little bit since then, but certainly during the time of the Trump hotel debacle, it was a very well-known money laundering hub. And so this project involving Trump, it involved bulk unit sales, cash payments, anonymous shell companies, and this all, of course, brings up red flags for laundering illicit funds. A former Panamanian financial crimes prosecutor at the time called it a vehicle for money laundering. This thing and the story over time, not only was it troublesome and not only raised alarm bells for a lot of people and red flags, the story got kind of weird and it got messy. The entire Trump family appears to have been involved in the hotel operation back at that time. In fact, Ivanka Trump sort of became a spokesperson for the operation. Here, I'll show you what there were some promotional videos made at the time. We'll show you this, and then we're going to get into the receipts to show you that this is very valid stuff. This is in Panama.
The most exciting news in the Trump Hotel collection is opening the doors to Panama. It signified our first project anywhere in Central or South America. It signified our first international hotel, and a building that we'll be proud of in perpetuity.
One of the great things about Panama, not only the beautiful building, but the incredible views. The building was situated so it has these fabulous views, and boy, do we take advantage of that situation.
Architecturally, it looks like a gorgeous sail. Some people say it resembles a giant D as well.
These are some buildings.
One moment. I'm going to bring up this other promotional video with Ivanka Trump. Well, actually, here, hang on. Well, I don't need to. What I'm going to do is this is NBC reporting on the investigation that they conducted with in conjunction with Reuters at the time. And then there has been additional documentation that has come out since then. The whole business deal eventually fell apart. But the point that I'm partly trying to make here tonight, in addition to what I'm just showing you here with regard to this investigation, is that these drug cartels, it's not just drug operations. They get into all kinds of other things. Real estate, casinos, hotels, timeshares. If you ever go to Mexico, you go to, say, Puerto Vallarta, you may get the pitch for a timeshare. I receive phone calls all the time from companies that are offering discounted vacation packages to try to get you to go to these resorts where you have to spend at least half a day taking in a sales pitch and a tour of the resort that they send you to, and then they sit you down and put a high pressure sales pitch on you to try to get you to buy a timeshare while you're there. Some, not saying all, but some of these operations have cartel money invested in them. And it's all part of a money laundering operation. It's a way for them to diversify their business interests. And this, again, is why it's just not so simple to go down there and think that you're just going to eradicate the drug trade. They are down there. They are integrated into the country, into society. And these drug cartels are involved in all kinds of different business interests that have tentacles that extend not just all through Mexico, but up into the United States and, yes, into Canada as well. You also have international investors in these different kinds of ventures that they get involved with because they need money laundering, the ability to launder funds. When they take in illicit funds from their illicit drug trade, they need some way to inject that money into legitimate businesses and then flush it back out in a way that they can actually spend it and reinvest it. So Ivanka Trump promoted this project. She appeared in marketing materials for this hotel in Panama, not in Mexico, but in Panama. This is an example of how this stuff is kind of done. And I'm just highlighting this particular project to show you the hypocrisy, again, of the Trump administration and Trump himself when he's dictating to Mexico about these drug cartels, while he himself has had ties to operations that have been linked to drug money. there's other stuff out there too. Well, I'll get into the extraditions here in a little while. But here's the scandal. The Trump scandal involving the Ocean Club served as a hub for money laundering, particularly involving proceeds from drug cartels and international organized crime. And what we have here is Panama has always, for a long time, been a hub for money laundering. And while Trump has denied these allegations, I'm sorry, I have to bring up the clip here. Okay, Brent, let's bring this up and we'll show you what it was. I've got it. We've got audio, okay? All right, here we go. This was the result of the NBC and Reuters investigation.
I'm Ivanka Trump. Welcome to Trump Ocean Club International Hotel and Tower, Panama.
It was the first Trump-branded tower to go up overseas, with Ivanka Trump pitching
Or
it.
you can opt to dine on your private balcony.
Luxurious, yes, but like many real estate projects in Panama, also a magnet for dirty money, according to insiders and a former Panamanian prosecutor. An NBC News investigation in conjunction with Reuters reveals brokers and buyers included Russian gangsters and a money launderer for Latin American drug cartels. Alexander Ventura was one of the tower's main brokers.
I had some customers with some, questionable background.
What does that mean?
I mean, I found out later, not in the beginning, from belongs to mafia, the Russian mafia, or things like that.
Ventura is now a fugitive accused of fraud. We agreed to disguise his appearance.
Did the Trump organization want to know who these buyers were, where the money was coming from?
No, not that I'm aware of. No, not at all.
Monty Friesner was in Panama at the time units at the Trump Ocean Club were being sold. He's a convicted former money launderer and knows Ventura and his partners.
So Ventura was marketing the Trump Ocean Club as part of a real estate portfolio where corrupt people could park their money.
You got it.
And they did.
Yeah. But they didn't just park their money was turned over consistently.
A former Panamanian prosecutor who investigated the building confirmed to us it did draw in people with a criminal history. Asked for comment, the White House and Ivanka Trump's team both referred us to the Trump Organization. In a statement, it said the Trump Organization was not the owner, developer, or seller of the Trump Ocean Club Panama project, and that the organization has no relationship with Ventura or knowledge of the allegations against him.
I believe this is the picture of you with President Trump.
Yes, that's correct. That's Mar-a-Lago, yes. Yeah.
So you were a guest at the party, they hosted you at Mar-a-Lago.
Yes.
The Trump Organization is now distancing itself from a project that earned it millions in association with a dubious cast of characters. Financial documents show that the president is still making money from this building, lighting up the sky here in Panama City.
Hey, NBC.
And that's the way it was in 2017. Now, things went south for Trump and his organization and his deal with the hotel complex in Panama. Ran into finally a dispute, a bitter dispute that twisted and turned and became bizarre, actually, the story, and resulted in armed police and security forces going to this hotel in Panama about a year later, I believe in 2018, maybe a little bit later than that, after the deal fell apart between the overall owners of the property and Trump, who had the deal to manage the facility, run it, and have his brand affixed to it. So it all fell apart and resulted in armed security and police going to the building to physically remove the Trump employees and executives from the building in Panama, and it resulted in a lot of pushing and shoving and a lot of chaos.
Complicated, bizarre, and I think fascinating story involving the Trump organization's hotel that it owns, hotel and condo building and casino in Panama City, Panama, which is in a literally violent dispute with a business person who owns or has bought the majority shares in that building. The two at loggerheads, fighting one another, literally fighting going on inside of that hotel condo building in the past few days. Here to sort it all out, if possible. Again, I'm going to warn you, this is a complicated story, but really fascinating, is ABC News journalist Aisha El Hamar Castaño, who we know best from her amazing work after the Bataclan Theater terrorist attacks in Paris and the follow-up stories there in Belgium. She is live from Panama City right now. Aisha, we're going to try to sort this out and make it coherent to people who haven't been following it, and it's complicated, and I've been doing a lot of reading about it all week. Now, there have been fighting going on inside of this hotel and casino throughout this week, flare-ups between employees loyal to the Trump organization, which developed and originally owned this building, and supporters or aides to a guy by the name of Orestes Fentiklis, who bought a majority share in that building. Aisha, why are these people fighting one another in a hotel in Panama City, and how does it relate to the Trump organization?
Whoa. What's that? I just built a budgeting app in Base 44.
Here we go.
Actually, what's happening right now is that there is this huge fight because Fentiklis, who is basically the supervisor, the manager of the Ithaca Capital, which is a Miami-based private equity fund, and he's trying to remove the management of the hotel, the building, to the Trump administrators, because basically he said that it's an extremely bad management of the company, and that basically they're losing a lot of money. And he's not the only one who said that. I spoke to different residents of the building, because as you say, it's not just a hotel, it's also condos ownership, and they all say that they're losing a lot of money. For example, one of the residents who lives in Nevada, he told me that when he bought the apartment in 2007, he was supposed to make $1,600 per night. And actually, in January 2018, the management accepted to rent for 3 nights, $400. So it's like a big difference, as you can imagine. And they were like very pissed off. And what happened is that, first of all, Fentiklis bought 202 units of the hotel in August 2017, and in October he sued the Trump management because he asked to remove them from the supervision of the hotel, and that's where everything started, I would say. And this week, he basically went inside of the hotel, and he was trying to get inside of one of the common space. And what happened is that the Trump, basically they hired extra security guards, and actually there was like a huge fight between the two groups. That was pretty impressive. And you also had in the middle of that different residents who were also participating to the fight, and that's it. I mean, it's a very complicated story, because you can imagine that the 200 employees are extremely afraid of losing their job if there is a change of management. Okay. And Fentiklis is trying,
Let me interrupt you here. Just to be clear, the Trump organization and President Trump has removed himself from day-to-day operations, but still technically owns this organization. They are the management firm, and the majority owner now, this gentleman, Fentiklis, he wants them out. Why? I mean, they have a contract which allows the Trump organization to manage this building. How can he legally try to remove them as the managers?
until 2031, he agreed to let the Trump organization manage the building, and he has a termination of the contract because of huge financial irregularities. It has not been proved yet, but Finticles talk about a lot of irregularities up to $1,400,000. So obviously everything needs to be, I mean, there is an arbitration who needs to start actually in New York. And so we will see exactly what is behind all this story. But right now, I mean, you have to imagine that only 30% of the building is being occupied. So they are definitely losing money, and they want a management change. So this is what he's trying to prove, basically. Basically, he wants to avoid any bankruptcy.
And Finticles and his aides or supporters or friends, if you will, tried to go into the building, go into the headquarters there, the operations center of the hotel, and there was a physical altercation. There was a fight. Somebody got thrown down a hallway when they tried to essentially take over control of the hotel. It's crazy.
That's true, Ron. And actually, one of the security guard has been detained by the police. You need to imagine that. And actually, on Wednesday, Ministerio de Trabajo, so which is the labor ministry, employment director, she came here. Her name is Judith Aparicio, and she came here and she tried to get in, and to be able to have guarantee that the employee are paid, etc., etc. And actually, they didn't let her in either. This is pretty crazy because it's like an official representative of the government, and they didn't let her in either.
Well,
and until today, actually, you can see extra security guard in the hotel. That's very, very interesting. I mean, it's definitely not a peaceful moment for the hotel, and same thing for the clients, they can see that something is going on. I talked to different clients of the hotel, and they told me that.
I got to tell you, this is a very bizarre story. In fact, in a written statement, the Trump organization accused Finticles of thug-like and mob-like tactics in trying to physically enter the hotel. Now, as I understand it, there are legal actions going on both in the U.S., in federal court here in the U.S., and there was a proceeding there in Panama just a couple of days ago. Any resolution? Does it look like there's any settlement of this forthcoming?
No, not yet. And actually, that's what we are.
Oh, we lost our.
Fired 10 employees. He fired 10 employees, and but they're still here. They'll still get in. So what he wants to do now is that he wants to prove that he wants to confirm the eviction of these people, and it includes the current general manager of the Trump Ocean Club.
Okay.
So we can expect more confrontation, to be honest, between the police and between these employees, potentially, because they definitely refuse to consider the legality of Finticles to make this kind of decision. But at the same time, again, the residents most of them are in favor of Finticles because they are losing money. They are afraid that their investment in this 70 stories building will be for nothing at the end.
And just to be clear, Finticles not only wants the Trump organization removed as the managers of this very luxury building.
Hey. Yeah, well, they also wanted the Trump name taken off the front of the building. And finally, that's exactly what happened. But this was a licensing deal where the Trump organization provided the Trump brand name, management services, and promotional involvement. That's where Ivanka Trump came in to do those infomercials or commercials that you saw online there. She earning an estimated $32 million plus, maybe even as much as somewhere between $32 and $75 million in fees, royalties, commissions between 2006 and 2016. And the project itself became a hub for money laundering, with multiple buyers and brokers tied to international organized crime, including Latin American drug cartels. While the president launches this, puts pressure on the Mexican government and provides U.S. military intelligence in order to help the Mexican government target drug cartels inside Mexico over the last couple of days, destabilizing the entire country and plunging it into the beginning of what appears to be a drug cartel war nationwide in Mexico, possibly even a civil war. And one of the main brokers for that hotel in Panama, by the name of Alexander Ventura Nogueira, I believe was the last name, he admitted to facilitating money laundering in Panama. He admitted to this and created anonymous shell companies for buyers. And Ventura claimed the Trump family and organization asked no questions about buyer backgrounds, as you saw in that report on NBC, or fund sources, and he met with Ivanka Trump multiple times, describing the project as her baby. Again, you can find documentation for that online and attribution through NBC and Reuters as well. And about half of this guy's clients were Russian or Eastern European, some with mafia connections. In addition to that, one prominent investor by the name of David Murcia Guzman, a Colombian fraudster convicted in the 2016 in the United States for laundering millions in narcotics proceeds through his pyramid scheme company, DMG Group. DMG had ties to Colombian paramilitary groups and was investigated for laundering money from Mexican drug cartels, with over $800 million in illicit funds involved overall. And Murcia Guzman bought 7 to 10 units using cash smuggled from Colombia, effectively laundering drug money into the project. There was another buyer, Louis Pergiolas, who pled guilty in 2009 to conspiracy to import cocaine as well. So Panama's lax regulations allowed bulk cash purchases, anonymous shell companies. There were over 130 used, I think, for this particular project, and quick property flips to clean dirty money from drug trafficking. Experts, including a former Panamanian financial crimes prosecutor, described this tower, that had the Trump logo and brand name plastered on the front, as a vehicle for money laundering, attracting drug cartels and organized crime groups. And the Trump organization was not the developers, you have to note that, or the direct seller, but as a result of their business ties to this and their management contract, they benefited financially from sales cuts. They got a percentage of the sales every time a unit was sold. Then it just deteriorated from there because, as you saw, the Trump management team was accused of gross incompetence by Venticlis, the owner of this company called Ithaca, and they were accused of gross incompetence and deficient operations, leading to financial losses. They were embroiled in a legal dispute because of breach of contract allegations, including failure on key obligations. The allegations from the building owners included later claims of tax evasion as well. The Trump companies allegedly failed to withhold and pay Panamanian taxes. The tax rate there was 12.5% on management fees and underreported employee salaries allegedly to avoid Social Security contributions in Panama, exposing owners to millions in potential liabilities. So as a result, the owners of the building sought to terminate their contract with Trump and his organization early, and remove the Trump branding and take full control of the operation to save their business, which was being used to launder dirty money, but still had to turn a profit. Trump, of course, denied all of this. His company denied it all. They denied all the allegations, calling the termination invalid and unlawful. They accused Fintiklis of breaching the agreement and using aggressive tactics. The main point here tonight, because of what's going on in Mexico, is that, as you can see, once again, extreme hypocrisy in play as Donald Trump claims to have the best interests of Mexicans and Americans at heart as he ignites this extremely violent drug cartel war that has been spiraling out of control since yesterday. Stay with me. We have more coming up on the other side of this.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
And this is messy, and it's scary for people down there as Canadians and Americans and tourists from all over the world are trying to get out of Mexico tonight. And it is still chaotic at airports and at gas stations. Here we see local residents being advised to take shelter inside a 7-Eleven or basically a convenience store as police move in to engage in some sort of a gunfight with cartel members.
Al 7. Hay un ataque armado. Ya que ahora.
So it is scary for everybody down there. And today, just a short time ago, Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, Anita Anand, updated Canada's travel advisory for Canadians and also provided an update on what the status is on bringing or trying to get Canadians out of Mexico. She also highlighted during this that Canada was not informed or kept abreast of what is going on down there by the U.S. administration or the government of Mexico. Here's Anita Anand.
I am monitoring the serious and rapidly evolving security situation in various regions of Mexico, in particular the Jalisco state, including Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta, Guerrero state, including Acapulco, Michoacan state, Sinaloa, including Mazatlan, Quintana Roo, including Cancun, Baja California, including Tijuana and Tecate, Nayarit. I am in contact with my Mexican counterpart, who expects the situation to normalize in the coming days. Our ambassador and consular staff are working with their counterparts to ensure that Canadians remain safe. Last evening, we updated our travel advisory to first expand the list of affected areas, to alert that volatility may continue to spread, and 3, align travel advisories with that of our peers. Local authorities have, in some cases, issued a shelter-in-place order, and the situation remains fluid. All Canadians in affected regions should heed the direction of local authorities and travel only when it is safe to do so. As of 7 o'clock this morning, 26,305 Canadians in Mexico have registered with Global Affairs Canada. That is an increase of nearly 8,000 from the same time yesterday. Registration is voluntary. We know that the actual number of Canadians in Mexico is likely much higher. In the last 24 hours, Canada's Emergency Watch and Response Centre has received 440 calls from Canadians who are seeking information about flights and travel advisories. Global Affairs Canada is adding additional surge personnel to handle the increased call volume. A word of encouragement. All Canadians traveling or living abroad are strongly encouraged to register with Global Affairs in order to receive timely updates and information about the ongoing situation and travel advice. We have seen Canadians register in the thousands just in the last 24 hours. I would like to give you the telephone number for Canadians to register, 613-996-8885, sos@international.gc.ca. Canadians should also monitor airlines' communications for the status of their flights. We are in contact with the airlines and with Mexican authorities to ensure that service is safely restored as soon as possible. The safety and security of Canadians abroad remains our highest priority. We are going to continue to provide updates to you as the situation evolves. I ask that all Canadians follow local guidelines, including sheltering in place, if that is what local guidelines are dictating. Bonjour, merci de vous joindre à moi aujourd'hui. Je voudrais vous offrir...
Okay, one moment, I'm going to get back to English here for you. Just one moment. Here we go.
To register and not the actual department and minister.
Actually, our ROCA system is working well. You can see that in the fact that 8,000 Canadians have registered in the last 24 hours. With the surge in volume, there was initially technical difficulties. Those were resolved late in the day yesterday and allowed the registrations to continue unimpeded. As I said, 8,000 registrations in the last 24 hours, 440 calls. Our system in consular affairs is working well. In addition to the registration and the call center, we also have consular officials on the ground at several locations in Mexico. I have here a map of Mexico, and if you take a look at this map, we have multiple consular officials at the major centers. They are all standing by, ready to assist Canadians. And I want to assure Canadians that we are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that we are providing the most accurate advice possible, and we are doing that on a rolling basis. As you have seen, I issued 2 statements yesterday. In addition to that, we have our call center highly active. We are receiving thousands, 8,000 in particular, registrations. So I want to vociferously underline that our system is working well, And where there are kinks, we are addressing them, and it is functioning well at this time.
Do you believe that President Sheinbaum has the situation under control?
I am concerned with the safety and security of Canadians first and foremost. In answer to your question, in my conversation with Foreign Minister de la Fuente last evening, he indicated that the situation should stabilize in the coming days and that this was a targeted operation which will not continue.
Seems to have been triggered by this, Minister. This seems to have, all this violence has been triggered by the security operation. Given the number of Canadians that were there, were you given any warning that this security operation was going to take place?
I was not provided with any indication that this particular operation would be taking place. And on my understanding, I believe that the Government of Canada was not provided with indication that it was going to occur.
Est-ce que vous préparez des plans dans l'éventualité où la situation pourrait se détériorer dans les prochains jours? Puis à quel moment vous allez être prêt aussi à contacter les gens qui se sont inscrits auprès de...
C'est une bonne question et évidemment, tout le monde veut savoir qu'est-ce qui va passer dans les prochains jours. Mais maintenant, comme j'ai dit, la situation est fluide. Et je suis ici pour vous donner une mise à jour. Ça, c'est une mise à jour qui c'est...
Again, just let me get you to English. Just give me a moment. Here we go. Well, almost. Hang on.
Canadians down there, tourists and otherwise.
So your question was, did they ask for any assistance? My response
Mexico.
was no. And in regards to the thousands of Canadians down there, which, as I mentioned, is about 26,000 who have registered and likely many more who have not yet registered or have decided not to register. And the work that we are doing to support those Canadians is to continue to provide accurate and up-to-date advice. For example, in the last 12 hours or so, we have updated our travel advisory to expand the list of effective areas, to alert that volatility may continue, and to align the travel advice with that of our peers. In addition, we have received 440 calls. 3 of those calls involve consular cases. 2 of those are injuries that are non-life threatening. 1 of those is in regards to requests for financial assistance. That's the status of the assistance that we are providing to Canadians at that time, and we have not, at this time, and we have not been requested by the Mexican government to assist in any way, shape, or form.
Are you considering repatriation flights? Are you considering sending in planes?
Not at this time.
What about the use of the military? I know that's sometimes lined up weeks in advance.
Not at this time.
The government should have been given a heads up, given the vast number of Canadians that are down there.
It is always helpful for us to know more in order to support Canadians. And so I appreciated having the call as soon as possible yesterday with my counterpart, Minister de la Fuente. We have been in communication, including this morning, and we are staying in very close touch. You will recall that I personally have visited Mexico in the last 6 months in order to continue that our bilateral ties with Mexico remain strong, and Minister LeBlanc just returned with a trade mission from Mexico in the past few days.
Justement, le ministre Leblanc a dit il y a une semaine de ça, et là je change de pays pour parler de Cuba, il a dit qu'il y a un plan d'aide qui venait de la part du Canada bientôt. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous donner plus de détails?
Let me get you to English.
As much support as possible. That type of support begins with providing accurate information about the situation on the ground. On social media, there is an attempt to provide information that doesn't always reflect the true security situation on the ground. That is also concerning in terms of misinformation and disinformation that individuals may be absorbing. Another reason that I wanted to come today to speak with you is to provide accurate information to Canadians in order for them to make decisions relating to their travel and their security interests. We are doing whatever we can to support Canadians in need. That is why we are encouraging everyone to register with the ROCA system. The fact that we have had 8,000 Canadians register in the last 24 hours should provide you with a sense of the way in which Canadians are usefully relying on Global Affairs Canada. We want to hear from Canadians. And I similarly want to hear from my Member of Parliament counterparts, some of whom reached out to me yesterday. I immediately got back to them. I immediately had a briefing, provided more information to all members of Parliament via email last night. I then set up a briefing for all members of Parliament, which will occur today. In fact, the English version was occurring at 11 a.m. and the French briefing is occurring at 12 p.m. And I want to say the reason why I am here, the reason why we are setting up these briefings is because the security of Canadian nationals abroad is not a partisan issue. It is an issue that we are all concerned about regardless of political stripe, and my goal always is to ensure that we are supporting Canadians across the board. Thank you. I've got to go. Thank you very much.
What are your goals in terms of trade as well? Will you be bringing up transnational repression and the killing and the investigations into the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar and other acts on Canadian soil?
Thank you for that question. Of course, the security situation at home and abroad in terms of Canadians is of extreme concern and priority for us as a government of Canada. When I was in India in October, for example, I repeatedly raised issues relating to domestic rule of law concerns, security concerns, and transnational repression. This is a basic necessity for the Minister of Foreign Affairs to ensure that the safety and security interests of Canadians is protected. So the answer to your question is yes, that is always at the forefront of our minds. In addition, at this moment in time, we are ensuring that we diversify trade relationships. That has meant signing 12 trade agreements over the last 6 months over 4 continents. But the priority sequence is to ensure the safety and security and rule of law concerns of Canadians are advanced at all times. En français.
Okay. And let me just pull this down. Stop that audio in my head. Okay. Let's take a little break. I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you the Canadian connection to all of this stuff in Mexico, or at least how some people, including Major General Vallely, would like to connect Canada to it. And his associate on the other side of this.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets publish things that simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So if you think this is just about combating the drug trade and preventing drugs from getting into the United States and maybe even Canada, well, I have news for you. It's about more than that. All you have to do is start connecting dots. It is all tied to this plan to reshape our world, to create this new multipolar geopolitical reality that I've been talking about for quite a while now, carving the world up into spheres of dominance. And at the center of that, of course, is Canada, the United States, Mexico in this hemisphere. And this is one of the reasons it would appear that Mexico is involved in this drug cartel war right now, which is very destabilizing to the country, but it also puts Mexican sovereignty under pressure, because we've shown you earlier tonight Trump commenting on offering to put U.S. troops directly into Mexico. When asked about it, he acknowledged it, and he said, it would be an honor for me to do that. We've seen posts online with people calling for U.S. military intervention, saying that this needs to happen because Trump will put an end to this very, very quickly. We've seen people calling for similar things up here in Canada for quite some time. I mentioned earlier the SOS letter writing campaign. You may recall that that was initiated, coordinated, and promoted by Lieutenant Steve Rogers, who, this goes back now, 2 or 3 years, where he was encouraging Canadians to write letters to him, which he was then going to take to the Capitol and present to the government and say, look, Canadians are asking for help. They need your help to intervene, to save them from the dictatorial government that they have up there, the oppressive Canadian government, the dictatorship at that time of Justin Trudeau. So they were calling for U.S. intervention, interference, if you will. You see the separatist movement out in Western Canada and the U.S. influence there, with massive amounts of money being offered as a line of credit to fund all of that. Well, in Mexico, what are we seeing? We're seeing similar kinds of rhetoric and initiatives aimed at undermining confidence in the government, destabilizing the government, this being just one of those measures that is being taken. And over on Fox News today, Sheinbaum, front and center. Here we go, talking about exactly this issue as it relates to Mexico and the question of Mexican sovereignty and whether the United States and Donald Trump really needs to get involved to solve Mexico's drug problem that they can't apparently solve themselves.
President of Mexico is furious. She's calling Mexican Senator Lili Tellez a traitor for coming on Fox Noticias with me a few days ago and saying this. Listen.
The help from the United States to fight the cartels in Mexico is absolutely welcome, and that is how the majority of Mexicans feel. The only ones who don't like that President Trump is sending help and trying to support Mexicans against the cartels are the narco politicians. That includes President Sheinbaum.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum responding, saying, quote, "It's not a minor issue that a senator gave an interview to a foreign media outlet calling for intervention." Here to discuss is that Mexican Senator Lily Tellez. Senator Tellez, welcome to Fox Noticias. I'm just going to get right to it. Is Mexico a narco state?
Yes, it is. And we all Mexicans know about it. And Mexicans are afraid of the alliance between the Mexican government and the cartels that have infested our nation.
Can you explain this alliance between the president, her party, the Morena party, and the cartels?
Yes, the party has financed, has given, the cartels have given so much money to these politicians, narco politicians of Morena, to get into office, to get the power. So they protect. The Mexican government protects the cartels. That is why President Sheinbaum doesn't want the strong American leadership to help Mexico defeat the cartels. And also Sheinbaum doesn't want the rest of the world to know what is happening here in Mexico. We are on the steps to be the next Venezuela. She is aligned with Venezuela's dictator, with Cuba, and we are losing our country. They have destroyed our Republican institutions, the democratic state, and we must, I think we all Mexicans want and welcome the support of the United States to assist Mexican people against the cartels that have us all in this crisis with the traffic in fentanyl and migrants.
So her response to this, and I know this because her spokesperson came on our show in response to your interview, and they say, well, we just turned over 26 cartel members. We're working, we're sharing intelligence. What are they not doing? And why is she so resistant? She sort of speaks out of two sides of her mouth. We're working with you, Trump, and then she's chastising you for saying we need more help from the United States to crush the cartels.
Because she really doesn't want the help of the United States. She is lying to Mexican people, telling Mexican people that the United States will get in control of the whole country. Right. I never listened such nonsense from President Trump. What we have listened is that President Trump wants to help Mexican people against the cartels. Mexican people are suffering. So what they do is very, very little. We have huge narco politicians here in the Senate, in the presidents, governors. Mexico is a very dangerous place.
Well, that brings me to my next question, because you are speaking very bluntly, very clearly about Mexico being a narco state and the alliance and the connections to the president of Mexico. Are you afraid for your life?
Yes, I am afraid. And the president has threatened me to proceed against me with criminal prosecution, to get me out of the Senate and get me in jail, just because I told you in this space and Fox News what is the reality of our country with the cartels. The cartels are dominating everything here in Mexico. They are in all the offices of the government, in the states, in the cities, and in the national government. So, of course, I am afraid, but I want people to know I will not step back. And I pray under God's guidance that we, the United States and Mexico, must work together to defeat the cartels and to get freedom for our country, for Mexico, to stop it from being the next Venezuela.
Babies and incubators money for separatists in Alberta. A Mexican senator singing the praises of Donald Trump and asking for help in U.S. military intervention inside Mexico. The president of Mexico already working with the United States, collaborating using U.S. intelligence to conduct the on-the-ground offensive against the drug cartels, specifically one cartel inside Mexico. So doing what Trump asked to be done, plunging the country into a state of chaos after the president of Mexico had stated publicly that it might be a problem because you might get this kind of response from the cartels, saying it could destabilize things and result in this kind of backlash, putting public safety at risk, suggesting, and has been resistant to this kind of very direct, aggressive action, which resulted in the killing of El Mencho, which really triggered a major backlash. And this Mexican senator, I have to wonder what kind of support she might be getting, or what kind of foreign influence might be present with regard to the Mexican politics. Circling me back around to Lieutenant Steve Rogers and the SOS campaign, getting Canadians to create the pretext and justification for U.S. military intervention at some point, maybe in the future, if called upon. All Trump has to do is produce these letters that Canadians have written and say, look, the Canadians are asking for us to go in to save them. So that was a real thing. Operation Sinaloa. Drafted by Major General Paul Vallely. That's been in the works for quite some time. It's underway down in Mexico right now. You have Major General Paul Vallely, who makes appearances on a podcast I'm about to show you, a live stream from time to time, talking about this very thing, talking about what I've been telling you all about for quite some time, that the world is being carved up into spheres of dominance, and that the United States, according to the big plan that he's part of and that Donald Trump is part of, the United States will dominate the Western Hemisphere. All of North and South and Central America. That's the goal. That's the plan. An extension, an evolution of the Monroe Doctrine into the Donroe Doctrine. The United States, Donald Trump. This is the plan. This is Major General Vallely.
But I think what I'd like to emphasize, Brad, if you don't mind, what Trump's ultimate strategy is to go back to the Monroe Doctrine again, which basically solidifies in principle the Western Hemisphere. Now, if you look at the Western Hemisphere today, we didn't look at it at the time the Monroe Doctrine was originated, but now all the way to the Arctic, Greenland, Canada, United States, Central America, South America, all the way to the end of Argentina, down to the Antarctic. And so Trump now is trying to solidify and protect the Western Hemisphere from communism and the effects of China into those areas. And China is big time, of course, into Central and South America, as you know. And the Chinese shipping
Chinese
company
guy behind every tree
is the one that took over the Panama Canal. Of course, Jimmy Carter sold us out on that deal, which was a bad decision. we call it now the Donroe
doctrine.
Donroe doctrine rather than Monroe. But everybody should study the Monroe doctrine. It all makes sense. But we're trying to protect our neighbors, our economies, destroy drugs, the manufacturing of drugs, the transportation of drugs.
That's
the external battle right now that we're facing. And one of the things I want to note on that, you hear a lot of commentators on television. Well, how do you know they're druggies? They're in these boats.
We don't need to get into the nitty gritty on that stuff with this. The point is, you just got it. Except they're not really trying to protect the neighbors. They're trying to take them over. They're dominating. There's a difference between protecting and invading or taking over. And the strategy so far has been to exert pressure, exert influence, walk in with a big stick and threaten, but hopefully you don't have to use it, and they just capitulate, which we've even seen that word used by some members of the Trump administration with regard to Iran. Now that's way over there, but that's got something to do more with the oil in the Middle East and Israel than it does the spheres of dominance, although it's related. But what's going on here, back in this third of the world, is exactly what you just heard. So how does Canada play into all this? Well, look again at this. You see up in the top right-hand corner, USA, E-H-A. See the logo? US, stars and stripes over that, and then A-E-H with the Canadian flag overlaid onto those two letters for graphic USA. Are you getting it? So what they're advocating for here is Canada to become the 51st state as part of this march toward domination of the entire Western Hemisphere by the United States, taking over governments or installing governments that are puppets of what Trump wants. It's part of the broader war on liberalism. They want governments in place in all of the countries under the U.S. umbrella that will do the bidding of Donald Trump and the political movement that he has built. USA, Canada. Oh, and how does that play into Canada? How is Canada involved in all of this? This is really where it comes full circle and gets weird. And you need to listen very carefully to what is about to be said by the host of this program and Major General Vallely. They talk about the cartels. They talk about the tentacles of the cartels winding their way, and I'm making up my own language here to illustrate the point, but the influence and the tentacles of the cartels, they say, wind their way all the way up here to Canada, where they're trying to paint Canada also as a narco-terror state. And all of this disruption, or at least a large portion of it, seems to originate right here through this program and through Major General Vallely and that ostrich farm. What are you talking about, ostriches? How could the ostrich farm be related to any of this? Because it's all part of the information warfare. It's all about screwing with your mind, creating linkages where there is no linkage, connecting dots where there is no dot to connect, by creating a false narrative, lying, implanting pieces of information in the middle of a conversation as part of casual conversation, as though it's just a stated fact that people will then just believe as a fact because it's not debated, not discussed, not elaborated on. But did you know that the drug cartels killed the ostriches out at Universal Ostrich Farm? It was the cartels. They called in the cartels, apparently, to shoot the ostriches. the ostriches that were involved in that big dispute that dragged on for an entire year, that disrupted the community out in Edgewood, British Columbia. I can't believe I'm talking about it here tonight, but here it is, as I found this as part of this conversation. How the hell do you tie the ostrich farm into the drug cartel war, this nationwide organized crime mob war against the Mexican government in Mexico, sparked by Donald Trump? How do the ostriches figure into all of that? You thought that ostrich farm was just about the ostriches, right? You thought all that silliness, all that craziness, all that horror, all that mind-bending, weird, emotional manipulation, you thought all of that out there was about the ostriches? You thought it was about bird flu? You thought it was about government overreach? Oh, it's about government overreach. It's about the overreach of the Trump administration and his government, his regime, through these guys. Listen carefully to what he says. Listen.
And they've taken the weapons away. The people have allowed the government to take the weapons away. It's the same thing in Australia. What are they thinking? How are you going to protect yourself on your farm? How are you going to protect yourself against the cartels, people that are armed? They're coming in trying to destroy your country.
The cartels came in last night at Universal Ostrich Farms. They shot the 300 ostriches.
Did they really?
Quiet night. They massacred them all. Yeah, about 2
we
hours.
wrote an article on that, by the way.
The cartels came in and massacred the ostriches. You see how he just slides that into the conversation? That's not true. That's a lie. The drug cartels did not go into Universal Ostrich Farm and shoot the 300 ostriches, which were part of a cull order from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency because of a bird flu outbreak at the farm, which resulted in a massive year-long series of court cases, court challenges. For those of you who are maybe not familiar with what went on out there, and was then turned into a media circus as part of an information warfare campaign. Now, these guys who sit at the root of this unrest in Mexico are saying that it was the drug cartels responsible for killing the ostriches, connecting those two things together when no such reality exists. But a bunch of people, I'm sure, believe that now, just because it was stated as a matter of fact, casual piece of conversation slipped into the middle of an interview, as though it was just already established, when nothing could be further from the truth. It's actually pretty damn disgusting, because you can see where this is really leading. It's about disrupting everything. It's about undermining confidence, trust in our institutions, in our governments, in our police, in any politician that these guys don't like, that Trump doesn't like, that isn't in alignment with the Trump regime ideologically. So they become targeted. It's disgusting. But you see, you thought it was just about ostriches. And bird flu was never about that. Was never about that. And it's not about that now.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Yeah, I'm just dipping into the chat here just to see what's going on. I haven't looked yet. What is going on? Do tell, Rick. I just did. Yeah, Lindy, oh my God, give me a break. I know, I couldn't believe it either. But there they are, those crazy birds. They live on in the political narrative. What else we got going on in here? Rosemary Mack says, he said cartels, not drug cartels. Well, I just illustrated for you. I just explained to you why the drug cartels are not just drug cartels. They are organized crime cartels. They're involved in a lot of different things. And their influence, their tentacles, they extend well beyond Mexico into many, many countries. These are international crime syndicates. And Trump is, I think, pretty familiar, which also makes me wonder what, what's the true motivation here? And keep in mind that as pressure is applied to one cartel, other cartels benefit. When this cartel is weakened, reduced in size, when you take out their leader, when you maybe kill a bunch of their cartel members, another cartel comes in to fill the vacuum. There are historical examples of this. For instance, the U.S. funded an initiative, the Plan Colombia, started in 1999. I think it's still even going on. It's provided billions in aid to Colombia for military operations, including aerial fumigation, eradication of cocoa crops, significantly reducing drug production, and it has weakened Colombian cartels. It did back in the early 2000s. But as a result, it displaced much of the cocaine trafficking northward. And then these Mexican cartels, including the Sinaloa and the Jalisco New Generation, filled that vacuum by taking greater control of distribution routes and U.S. markets. And so in a way, the United States, not in a way, they've had a direct impact on the growth of the Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation drug cartels by providing the funding to combat the Colombian cartels just in that country during those periods without addressing or providing additional supports and aggressive tactics in Mexico. So you do something over here, it takes out these drug lords over there, these warlords over there, but then these guys come in and fill the vacuum. And that is again why, if you think that this is going to end the drug problem, if you think this approach is going to end the drug problem, think again. All this is really doing is shifting the balance of power. While common everyday people who are just trying to live their lives, or tourists who are down there just trying to enjoy the sun at a resort, now everything has been thrown into chaos, and you have at least 78 dead people tonight. There have been other examples, of this in the past too. They call it, I think, the balloon effect. So you've seen U.S. influenced crackdowns in countries like El Salvador, where you've got a lot of drug trafficking it becomes that's been a country for a conduit for drugs for a long time. You've seen the U.S. efforts down there disrupt everything and create power vacuums, and that's what is one of the things that's one of the things that has sparked the unrest, the violence, resulting in death. So much death over the past day in Mexico. And then I'm seeing online tonight too, there was another social media influencer who happened to be one of the people out at the ostrich farm, just happens to be down there in Mexico, where the this war to kick off, posting online about guns away, which is another video with Major General Vallely and Brad Wozni. You know, they're taking your guns away, and this influencer was talking about how, you know, you're not allowed to have, they don't have guns in these resorts, or if you're at home and you're an old person or whatever, and yet you don't have a gun, what are you going to do when the cartels come for you in Canada? Same narrative. And then I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's a great option. Let's give Granny a gun so she can have a gunfight at the Canadian Corral with the Sinaloa drug cartel when they come up to Kanakistan. Here's Granny with her 6-shooter. It's just a lot of what they're doing is just absurd. It's absurd. They're creating the trouble. They're creating the problems, exacerbating problems, making these things worse. Frankly, I'm getting a little bit tired of it. And you know, the whole drug war, that's exactly what we're getting here. It is a giant drug war. And more than that, it's like the United States is going to war with Mexico, because I think in a larger sense, that's really what you see going on here. And even as the government of Mexico and Sheinbaum, you know, making an effort to comply, bend the knee even to a degree with the United States, but strike a balance where the sovereignty of Mexico is preserved. It doesn't matter what they do or what Sheinbaum does, going to be, there's no way to win, because as they participate, every problem ends up still being blamed on the Mexican government, as you saw with the senators saying, as they're complying with with Trump to go after the drug cartels, they're being accused of being in bed with the drug cartels, which may or may not be true. You can decide for yourself, but the end result is the United States under Trump, the Trump regime, gets the pretext needed to invade.
What people really need to understand right now is that this is war with Mexico. This is not just some bad hombre gangs that we're fighting against. This is now war with Mexico. When you understand
This is David Nino Rodriguez, host of Nino's Corner TV on the Steve Bannon War Room.
Cartels own and control every element of Mexico. We are at war with Mexico. And, you know, to see this playing out, I've been watching this now for the last year, the heavy artillery being moved up to the border, watching this, getting a bird's eye view, front lines. I can only tell you that I knew what was coming. And on my show, at least for the last few hundred shows, I've been saying, do not go to Mexico. Americans, Canadians, do not go to Mexico. This is about to kick off. I don't know when, but it's going to kick off. And now it has kicked off. And you can expect this to last for a long while, because the cartel's objective now will be, if you're looking at this as strategy, will be to muddy Trump's face, make this as ugly as possible, kill innocent civilians, mow down schools. This will bleed into America. You better believe it. Right now, Juarez is kind of, it's like the calm before the storm. You know, different cartels control different sectors of Mexico. So we are anticipating something coming very soon. This is going to get ugly, very ugly.
Nino,
I mean, it's already ugly now, but it's going to get worse.
That is a big part of the concern tonight. Some people expecting that this will bleed over the border into the United States, and we could see some violence on the U.S. side of the border by these drug cartels in retaliation for what is clearly a Trump-led initiative aimed at the cartels inside Mexico. So whether Trump puts boots on the ground inside Mexico or not, the result is what you're seeing, which is chaos in Mexico, a full-scale drug war, a civil war in many respects inside Mexico that has been sparked by Trump and his foreign policy and his drug policy, which could result in, I would say, terroristic-like activities on American soil, because Mexico is just on the other side of that border, which brings me around to this. I was thinking about this earlier. Wasn't he supposed to build a wall? What happened to the wall? Wasn't he just supposed to shut that border down to stop not just the illegal immigration, but the drugs from flowing over the border? He's had a long time to get that done. He said, now 2 kicks at the can in the White House to build the wall. What happened to the wall? Why do you need to do all of this down in Mexico? Why don't you just build the wall? Build the wall, build the wall. Then I thought, well, what's been the result of this action in Mexico that has resulted in all of this violence? What's happened to the people? Everybody got locked down. Then I thought, well, look at the bright side. At least nobody's going to get COVID. Jesus.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations. Proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Let me just make sure that I'm not missing anything super important. So I know that the most up-to-date information out of Mexico that I have here. So as much as the Mexican government is saying that they are in a period of stabilization, and I am seeing reports from some parts of the country coming in here to say that things are. The reality is we're still seeing widespread cartel-related violence in many areas. No airports, as far as I know, and Guadalajara International Airport. Airports in Cancun, Mexico City, and Mazatlan are operating more normally, but there are delays and cancellations linked to the broader unrest. So what's going on? How are people getting home? Well, stranded tourists are primarily relying on rescheduled commercial flights. As governments have stated, there's no need for special evacuations at this time, as you heard from Anita Anand, the Foreign Affairs Minister for Canada. But there are severe disruptions, and yes, we're seeing Canadian carriers like Air Canada and WestJet cancel flights or divert flights in some cases, and many are waiving change fees for rebookings because of the problems down in Mexico. And we're also seeing reports that in some cases, hotels are jacking up rates to take advantage of tourists who are stuck waiting to arrange flights home. And everybody is being advised to exercise extreme caution because there is still violence happening out there tonight. And in fact, I believe this was just recently posted, so that I don't know how fresh this video is, only to say that it is fresh online and is being presented as something that's happened probably within the last couple of hours.
Gobierno, ahí tira. ¡Pura gente de doble R! Mira, tocó con la Guardia Nacional para que puro culo más de verga. Arriba el doble R. Y ya nos matamos a los de la bombiche.
I have to wonder. With the music and the production, I don't know how much credibility some of this stuff online has. Here's other video, but again, I don't know how recent this stuff is. This stuff just recently posted, but when was it shot?
Espérate, hay que hacerlo más para adelante para pegarle. Hay que darle más para adelante para pegarle. Mira, esa es la reja. Esa, tanto las motos, ánimo. Dale, 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 dale. Espérate, hay que hacerlo más para adelante para pegarle. Hay que darle más para adelante para pegarle.
Not a movie. Okay, this is, yeah. But again, I don't know. I can't verify when these videos were shot. So, and right now, it's important to know that information because we're trying to establish or figure out what the current situation is, right? Now, here's Mexico's defense secretary saying 80% of the weapons seized from cartels are of U.S. origin, or at least according to this video.
Ya se ha mencionado aquí de.
Says it's already been mentioned here.
Hablando de la estrategia.
Speaking of the strategy general, since the beginning of the administration, 23,000 weapons have been seized. And I'm pretty sure this is an old clip.
General. Se han asegurado en lo que va de la administración 23,000 armas. De esas 20.
Of those 23,000 weapons, 80% are of U.S. origin, which is the information that I shared with you earlier during the broadcast and does mesh with the research that I did earlier today.
23,000 armas, el 80% son de origen norteamericano. Entonces, en este caso.
So in this case, the proportion is roughly the same.
Más o menos es la misma proporción.
Correcto.
Ya se ha mencionado aquí.
And that just reinforces what I told you earlier. But hey, never let the truth get in the way of a good story, right? Just blame China.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
In other news, let us move on from the story out of Mexico. There are other things going on in the world. Former British ambassador to the U.S. has been arrested as a result of the Epstein files being released. British police arresting Peter Mandelson, detained amid this intensifying scandal after the Justice Department released these millions of Epstein-related documents, some of which appear to show Mandelson leaking sensitive political and market information to Epstein. There is video that has been released by Sky News showing Mandelson being led from his home in North London wearing a gray sweater and black coat. So this is when he was being arrested. And then he gets into a car, I guess. And London's Metropolitan Police say tonight in a news release that it was an update on an investigation into misconduct in public office offenses relating to a former government minister. In the release, they say officers have arrested a 72-year-old man on suspicion of misconduct in public office. It says this follows search warrants at 2 addresses in the Wiltshire and Camden areas, referring to a county which is about 100 miles to the west of London in an area north of the United Kingdom's capital. Mandelson has denied any wrongdoing related to Epstein, but we're seeing quite a number of people resign or fade into the background, at least for now, as a result of the release of these documents, these Epstein documents, the most prominent of those facing accusations and followed from all of this is, of course, former Prince Andrew, who was arrested on the same offense, misconduct. We will see what happens over the long term, whether justice does actually prevail here or what happens. But I will say this, it seems the justice system in the UK is functioning better than the justice system in the United States right now, where I'm wondering if anybody ever goes to jail for anything in any meaningful or real way. I mean, not only was Trump supposed to build a wall, remember, build that wall, build the wall, build the wall. What was the other one? Oh, yeah, lock her up, lock her up. I don't think she was ever locked up, was she? And what's going to happen to him now? I don't know. To Mr. Trump. Excuse me. We have another weird development in the Tumbler Ridge shooting. The older brother of the Tumbler Ridge shooter, Jesse Van Rootselaar, his older brother, was wanted on a Canada-wide warrant for attempted murder. So I guess Wood Buffalo RCMP say that this 22-year-old was wanted in connection with an incident allegedly involving an edged weapon back in 2024 in Fort McMurray, Alberta. And apparently, he has been arrested, this older brother of Jesse Van Rootselaar. What's this guy's name? It's I got to get his name here. Let me see. Jesse was the person who, Jacob. Jesse was the one who was involved in the school shooting and then, of course, died at the scene of the school shooting out in Tumbler Ridge. His older brother, Jacob Van Rootselaar, and Jesse, of course, transgender, which has become a flashpoint in the culture war and the issue of SOGI and LGBTQ plus S plus rights and all of that stuff, as I'm sure you are all very well aware. And now his older brother, Jacob, arrested. Now, I believe the arrest took place, I think it wasn't today. I think it was like back on Friday. So I just think that's a very strange development. I wasn't aware of that. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about that in the days ahead as well. And I know nothing. There's really no other information available at this point about that I have anyway, on his older brother. So we'll bring you more on that in the days ahead. And then related to that, today we saw Evan Solomon in Ottawa hold a news conference today. He's the minister responsible for artificial intelligence and digital innovation. And he addressed this story that came out. I think it was the Wall Street Journal that reported, maybe it was the New York Times, either way. They were the first to report that OpenAI had been monitoring Jesse Van Rootselaar prior to the school shooting in Tumbler Ridge. They flagged him. And some of the OpenAI employees wanted to go to the authorities because they could see that he was potentially a safety risk because of his online activities. So today, news conference held with Evan Solomon in Ottawa. Let's pick that up here.
Hi, everyone. I want to give some response to the very disturbing media reports in the wake of the tragedy in Tumbler Ridge. I was deeply disturbed by these reports. Obviously, our hearts go to the families in Tumbler Ridge and the families and the communities in this ongoing tragedy. And those reports were deeply disturbing. The report saying that OpenAI did not contact law enforcement in a timely manner. When I read those reports, I immediately contacted OpenAI to get an explanation about the situation. On Sunday morning, my team met with members of OpenAI as well, and then I have summoned the senior safety team from OpenAI in the United States to come here to Ottawa. They will come here tomorrow, and we will have a sit-down meeting to have an explanation of their safety protocols and when they escalate and their thresholds of escalation to police, so we have a better understanding of what's happening and what they do. I'm working closely with my colleagues in Justice, Public Safety, and Heritage on this. I'm also working closely with my colleagues in British Columbia as we examine this. Obviously, the details of the case, it's an ongoing investigation, but I'm happy to give you more information from OpenAI when they come here on Tuesday from the United States to give us a deeper understanding of exactly how such a situation could occur.
Minister, is there anything in law that requires these companies to report anything to law enforcement or the government? And if not, will that be something that plays out as part of the privacy legislation you're working on or online harms?
Canadians expect, first of all, that their children particularly are kept safe and that these organizations act in a responsible manner. And I'm going to working closely with Public Safety, the Justice Minister and Heritage Minister, and the bill on privacy and data that we have forthcoming to make sure that Canadians are kept safe. I will tell you this, all options are on the table.
Do you have any reticence about regulating AI chatbots at all?
All options are on the table. We have to hear from OpenAI and their protocols. We have to hear their safety protocols. We have to hear their escalation thresholds, and we are going to get more details on that. But again, all options are on the table.
Has this reshaped your government's approach to online harms at all, just generally speaking? This incident?
First of all, this incident is a horrific incident, and it's an unimaginable pain that these families are. I'm a father, so I'm going to be candid, keeping my, anybody, it's hard to keep your emotions in check when you hear what happened to these families. Our job and our duty is to make sure Canadians are protected. And I can tell you, we've got Bill C-16 criminalizing, right now that's tabled, criminalizing the non-consensual sharing of non-consensual sexualized imagery with the Justice Minister. I've got my bill on updating privacy legislation in PIPEDA. We've got Mark Miller, under which online harms falls, and we are working very closely together to make sure that we have a suite of measures to protect Canadians. And I will say that that suite of measures will be thorough and to make sure that Canadians are kept safe, especially children.
AI adoption should move at the speed of trust. Given what we've just seen here, what should the trust level that Canadians have in these companies right now, what should that look like?
I immediately summoned the senior safety people from the United States. They are coming to Ottawa tomorrow to find out exactly those questions. And we will ask them questions about safety protocols, escalation thresholds, and trust. And those are good questions. Last question.
Do you think that you can trust AI companies with the safety of Canadians, given this incident?
We will see what they say when they come to Ottawa and they tell us what their protocols and their escalation, and I'm not going to prejudge the details of this case, obviously I can't get into, but I will say this. I am working closely with the Justice Minister, the Public Safety Minister, the Heritage Minister, And I'll tell you, we are making sure that all options are on the table to make sure that Canadians are kept safe.
OpenAI has already provided an explanation. They said that the shooters, whatever they were saying, did not meet the bar, and that there was not an imminent threat. So they've already provided some explanation as to why they didn't notify law enforcement. What more of an explanation are you looking for, and what do you make of their explanation so far?
I immediately summoned them to Ottawa for a reason, because I want to know the details about their escalation thresholds. I want them to give us details of what their protocols are, what they are specifically in Canada, because Canadians demand safety, and I will get more information from them on Tuesday, and I'm happy to relay that to them next week.
It's a learning experience.
Protocols worked.
Wow. I'm going to look in the chat. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? CBC Brown says nothing digital can be trusted. Vicky says insanity comes to my mind. Lindy, AI can never be trustworthy. Says our 51st state friend, 1272B51. DJ Bear, 1970, the fires in LA. They only built 12 houses, and okay, that's another issue altogether. Do you guys have any thoughts on what went on with AI, OpenAI, and the Tumbler Ridge shooting tragedy? Rusty Wiener. So basically, the private sector showed how incompetent the government is. Stoke teacher, not acceptable. CBC Brown, idiots. Yeah, it shows me too a couple of things. It shows me that while everybody is worried about Chinese cars being spy cars, the reality is they already know. They are already monitoring everything we do on the internet. They're tracking everything, all your activity. You have your phone, you have your laptop, you have your desktop, whatever. All of your online activity is being monitored at all times and being recorded. That's a big concern for everybody. But it shows me as well that not all of that information is being shared, that privacy concerns in this case were paramount when maybe they shouldn't have been. Maybe you value privacy more than safety. Trying to strike a balance is something that is difficult. This is something we need to figure out as a society as we try to find ways to live with this new technology, the internet, social media, artificial intelligence, an increasing concern where I think what we're also seeing here, and that was not really addressed in that address from Evan Solomon, it's not just whether they report on the activity of someone online and what they are doing. I'm concerned about what these media companies, these artificial intelligence systems, what the companies that control them, what they're doing, what kind of information they're pumping into somebody's brain. Because it's pretty clear to me that people are being influenced by the information they're consuming. And the information they're consuming is being selected through algorithms or maybe even other means controlled by these tech giants. As I've indicated, as I showed the other night in some of the other, in that presentation about artificial intelligence, online activity, and targeting of information, they can micro-target right down to an individual the distribution or the what information they're going to feed us, feed an individual. And they can do it in ways that goes mainly undetected. So it is the questions I think that Evan Solomon needs to ask in this meeting when he sits down with these people from OpenAI should not be restricted or even necessarily focused on the reporting mechanisms and the escalation protocols. You should be asking questions about what are these algorithms doing? What information is being fed to people? Are people's views and beliefs being amplified? Are people being fed information or content that is radicalizing them in some way, or maybe even just triggering them, conditioning them, and then triggering them? What is it that happened with Jesse Van Rootselaar that triggered this person, resulted in them making this decision to go to the school and open fire on innocent victims, killing all of these people, these kids, children? What is it that set all of that off? Was it one thing? Was it a series of things? Was it something? Was it factors offline in the real world? Or was it content being fed, algorithms? Was it stuff that was going on right here in the digital matrix, in this digital reality that is being used to shape our perceptions and create some sort of new reality for people that maybe isn't real at all? And maybe even, in the case of Jesse Van Rootselaar, destabilized his sense of self. These are deeper questions, and I don't think, from what I just heard from the podium, that we're going to get anywhere near the level of information and response from the government that we really need as we move forward on this digital matrix journey, or whatever the heck it is. We've just got to find a way to navigate through this, and I fear we're running out of time. Be right back.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth. Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, heartbreak, Olympic heartbreak, of course, as you know. Us Canuckistanians, no longer the superpower in hockey, at least not for the moment. But I just took note of this. I guess the U.S. women's hockey team has declined the invitation to Trump's State of the Union address. Another blow to the president, who no doubt is going to be, I don't know, he'll probably tariff the U.S. women's hockey team. That's it. You're not getting back into the country unless you pay a $5,000 tariff. They didn't come right out and say, like, we're not coming to your stupid address. We hate your guts, or anything like that. It was, what was the statement that said, we are sincerely grateful for the invitation extended to our gold medal winning U.S. women's hockey team and deeply appreciate the recognition of their extraordinary achievement. Due to the timing and previously scheduled academic and professional commitments following the games, the athletes are unable to participate. I think maybe there's more to it than that. Just saying. I don't know. What else do I have for you tonight as we kind of bring things to a conclusion this evening? We have Solomon. We got him. I don't want to miss anything important. We talked about the Epstein stuff. I know there's something I'm missing. There's something I'm missing. I'm forgetting something tonight. What else did I have? Oh, I know what it was. Did you? And spring is coming. Although this big storm, right? Still digging out in many places in the U.S. What is the status of that storm, by the way? I know what I'll do. I'll go over here. Just check on it for you. We didn't really get much snow here. We got some down here in Chatham Stan. But I guess the parts of the U.S. got hammered pretty hard. Still stuff online tonight, too, about all the unrest in Mexico. This is weird if this is true. Jalisco authorities opening a fresh investigation. They've discovered 200 pairs of shoes at a crematorium on a ranch. The property was being used as a training and extermination center for cartels, one of the cartels. This is being reported by France 24, the English network. Here, I'll show you. Bring it up here for you. Well, this seems pretty freaking horrific, too. Okay, let's see what this is about. Boy, I thought we were getting into a little bit of lighter news, and then this pops up.
2 meters beyond the entrance of this now cordoned-off ranch in the Mexican state of Jalisco, the horrors of one of the country's most notorious drug cartels are being unearthed. It's here deep underground that the Warrior Searchers of Jalisco, a collective that helps find missing people, discovered a makeshift crematorium. What they found inside confirmed what authorities feared most.
We found it because we had several anonymous calls, including relatives who accompanied us to where their son could possibly have been. We found burnt remains of human bodies burnt in graves.
The collective believes the remains are those of people who've disappeared in this state. It's on this ranch that Jalisco New Generation Cartel recruited and trained dozens of people against their will. It's recently been designated a terrorist organization by US President Donald Trump. One of the most powerful in all of Mexico, the cartel is accused of trafficking drugs and people across the country and internationally. Some testimony also suggests the ranch was used for organ trafficking too. Police had taken control of this piece of land last September in an operation that led to the arrest of 10 people, the release of 2 hostages and the discovery of a body. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Authorities say hundreds may have been killed here.
We started finding clothes from the very beginning, piles of clothes. We found shoes. This was something that went viral because it was compared to some historical photos from wars or extermination camps.
Some 200 pairs of shoes were found at the ranch. Jalisco has been the hardest hit by Mexico's disappearance crisis. The state has 15,000 missing people.
Wow. Last night, Angie Clowry was on the program and referenced 30,000 murders in Mexico which she said was the result of cartel violence. I looked some of the information up, and just off the top of my head, referring back to the information I found earlier today, the 30,000 figure, just for a point of reference and just clarification, that's about accurate, I guess, for the number of homicides, but that's countrywide, and that's all homicides, and homicides that are linked directly to cartel activities has been generally about half of that. And the additional information that I found was that those numbers have declined in recent years. And also, coming back to what I was talking about earlier with the unintended consequences of government intervention, U.S. government intervention in some of these areas, including the crackdowns in places like Colombia and El Salvador and other Latin American countries where drug activity is rampant as well. When they reduce the activity in those areas, it has increased the activity in Mexico. And when they have cracked down in other areas, it has ramped up cartel violence inside Mexico as vacuums, as the cartel leaders and the gangs try to fill the vacuum for drug demand, and they jockey for territory. So when you take out or weaken one group, the others move in. They fight for territory. It's like a turf war, and you get more gang cartel violence. And in those years, around 20, what were the years that I found? It's around 2015 to 2017, in that range. And this is, again, off the top of my head, there was escalated violence because of U.S. interventions, which resulted in crackdowns, which then created power vacuums and more cartel violence. So it's very difficult to find a solution to the problem long term. Donald Trump also tonight facing increasing political challenges within his own movement, MAGA, and that is because you're seeing problems from the not just the Epstein files, but also the Maha movement. Yes, the moms, the Maha moms, they are pushing back, and it's specifically, I guess, they're upset about the way, something to do with, well, here I've got this story. I think Blaze. I'm not. Yeah, there it is. There. I'll bring this to you. So, I heard about this overnight. Make America Healthy Again. That's the RFK Jr. group, basically, right? But also specifically, Maha moms. They're concerned about kids, and they are raging against the Donald. And it's being noted by quite a number of conservative media outlets, including Blaze Media. RFK Jr., who once fought the manufacture of a glyphosate-carrying herbicide, defends the president because it's all about Roundup, the weed killer. Trump administration has delivered numerous wins on the Make America Healthy Again front, it says in this article from Blaze. But, for example, it took steps to remove damaging fluoride drug products for children from the market, canceled mRNA vaccine development contracts, took meaningful steps toward eliminating harmful synthetic dyes and other additives from the food supply. Some of those in the Maha movement, accustomed to winning, were shocked to learn this week that President Donald Trump is pushing for an increase in the production of controversial glyphosate-based herbicides. That's Roundup. Trump suggested in an executive order Wednesday, this would be last week, that glyphosate-based herbicides are a cornerstone of this nation's agricultural productivity and rural economy, and that diminished access to such weed killers would result in economic losses for growers and to make it untenable for them to meet growing food and feed demands. Characterizing production of glyphosate-based herbicides as central to American economic and national security, Trump invoked the Defense Production Act of 1950 and tasked Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins with ensuring a continued and adequate supply of Roundup. president's order also provides legal immunity to those American manufacturers ordered to produce glyphosate-related herbicides. It's a controversial chemical. It was first registered for use in America in 1974. It is one of the most widely used pesticides in the country, or herbicides, I think is really the accurate phrase or term. Like various other official bodies, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency claims that there are no risks of concern to human health when glyphosate is used in accordance with its current label, and that it is unlikely to be a human carcinogen. There's a lot of data out there to refute that. And here's RFK Jr. in the employ and serving at the pleasure of Donald Trump, the president. And I know this has been one of the main planks in his Make America Healthy Again platform. He's been against glyphosate, Roundup. You can find him talking about it online. And if you don't understand what glyphosate is, it's like Roundup Ready soybeans and other crops. These are genetically modified crops. They're modified so that when you're growing, say, soybeans that are glyphosate safe or friendly, ready, you just spray the herbicide all over the field. You can get it all over the soybeans, and they don't die, but it kills all the weeds because the soybeans are genetically modified so that they're resistant to the herbicide. The herbicide itself is supposed to break down over time, and so it breaks down before you eat it. But RFK Jr. has stated, and I think that there's some real truth to this, that it persists in the environment and that it builds up, and you're eating this stuff. We're all eating it, and they don't just spray it on the crops to kill the weeds. They also spray that stuff on the harvested wheat and soybeans as well, in order to prevent mold and prevent the growth of plants in the harvested product as well. Anyway, Maha moms freaking out, protesting as a result of this this executive order signed by Trump this past week. Again, creating cracks in the Maha base, or the MAGA base, really. So it's once you get elected, it's easy. See, it's easier to tear down and criticize and get elected when all you have to do is point a finger at your opponent who is in power and say, look at all the terrible things they're doing. That's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, and criticize. But once you're in power, now you're carrying the baggage. You're a target. You're going to be held accountable for the things that you do. And now he's doing the same things that the previous administration did. And the Maha mums are not happy. So Donald Trump's got another challenge on that front, as the MAGA movement is beginning to crack just a little bit. Now, what are we going to do tonight to bring things to a close? Well, I thought, I don't know, we got to do something to cheer people up just a little bit. So I thought we'd just do a random Twitter scroll. We're not going to Truth Social. I refuse. Not going to do it. We didn't do a Donald Trump Truth Social scroll tonight. We're going to go to Twitter, and we're just going to do, you remember David Letterman? Of course you do. He used to do the stupid pet tricks. Just came to mind. No particular reason why. I thought, let's just go to Twitter, type in stupid pet tricks, and see what we get tonight. A harmless prank. You'll fall for this too. What are they talking? I'm going to scroll past this one. That's about stupid parents. I typed in stupid pet tricks. Where are the stupid pets? Oh, here's one here. Why fit in when you were meant to stand out? Driving a boat. Yeah, I take Cosmo for rides in the car. He's not the best in the car. He comes and sits beside me in the seat up in the front, in the passenger seat. But every once in a while, he does want to come over, and he would like to drive. So I have to be careful of that. Merry Christmas and happy holidays from Beans. These are extremely unbrowned. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, dog eating something. I don't get it. And what other stupid Petricks do we have? It is so funny when dogs are being dogs, but they are getting into trouble. All you have to do is yell out their name for them to jump 10 feet in the air and either freeze or run. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Hey, excuse me. Nada. Are you doing dishes? I hope so.
What are you doing?
Raymond. Kevin.
Uh-huh.
Go.
Excuse me, sir. Oh, you got one.
Excuse me, sir.
Hey, excuse me.
And we're on a loop now.
Are you doing dishes?
No, I don't think he was doing dishes. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. I'm going for a walk, or I should say, Cosmo's going to walk me or pull me around the neighborhood. Catch you on the flip side.
Well, I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom, running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his bed. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling low, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog.
his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a bird, a heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a bird. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.